everybody. It's Amy, and we have a podcast first today. I am recording from the Transit Lounge at the San Diego Airport. Welcome to episode 278 of School Librarians United. I am your host, Amy Herman. This podcast is dedicated to the issues and challenges school librarians face every day. As a school librarian, having finished my 17th year, I knew I wanted a podcast to address the nuts and bolts of running a successful library program. I don't claim to have all the answers, but I hope that this is a platform to share resources and exchange ideas. Now is a perfect time to mention that all the ideas and opinions expressed in this podcast by myself, my interview guests, and listeners who reach out to the podcast are our own and do not reflect those of our school districts. When incorporating research, I always make sure to cite my sources. So whether you are a novice or a veteran school librarian, this podcast has something for you. Friends, this week I was incredibly fortunate to have attended American Library Association's annual conference this year held in San Diego. In today's episode, I'll be sharing some of the conversations I had with those attendees. This year's goal was to talk to the school librarians who have never been on the podcast and, in some cases, are learning about the show for the very first time. Well, friends, anytime you make a list of thank yous that you want to share out, there is an inherent risk of overlooking someone. But I do want to make sure to shout out Courtney Pentland and the outgoing president of American Association of School Librarians and the opportunity to speak at the president's panel. I also want to thank Amanda Jones from the bottom of my heart. Your hospitality is boundless. Tom Bober, thank you so much for assembling Table 14. And the opportunity to attend the Newberry-Caldecott Legacy Banquet. I also want to make sure I shout out to the many friends and school librarians with whom I've had an opportunity to connect, sometimes on the podcast, sometimes in person, and sometimes on social media, including Dr. Andrea Trudeau, Molly Detman, Dustin Hensley, Lori Lieberman, Sarah Smith, Julian Rudez, Robbie Barber, Becky Calzada, Diana Haneski, Erica Long, Tamara Cox, Melissa Tom. Friends, attending ALA's annual conference, or any conference for that matter, is so much more than just attending sessions. For me, this was an opportunity to connect in person with the hopes of building relationships which go way beyond and can possibly be achieved through messaging on social media. Something that especially is true is when you get to explore a new city for the first time. We were situated on a scenic boardwalk in the San Diego Bay. We had wonderful opportunities to enjoy an evening concert. The San Diego Symphony Orchestra performed John Williams hits in an open-air band shell in the middle of the harbor for everyone to enjoy. It was glorious California weather every single day. And I'm going to tell you right now, and this is not just me, but for so many of us, this has become our new favorite convention destination. And we also had an opportunity to visit the San Diego Zoo, which is legendary because we had the opportunity to arrive a day early and explore the Gaslamp neighborhood and the wonderful restaurants, and especially just being able to stay up late and talk into the night with friends. It was a wonderful, wonderful conference. Friends, don't forget that Amanda Jones's upcoming book, That Librarian, is available starting on August 27th, but you can pre-order your copy now. And if you use the indie bookseller Cavalier House Books in Amanda's hometown of Denham Springs, Louisiana, you will be able to get a signed copy. I will put a link in the show notes. When you look at the cover of Amanda Jones's book, you might recognize the Freedom Fighter shirt that she's wearing. She reached out to the designer Christy, who designed a line of That Librarian apparel, as well as That Librarian flair, such as a bag, sticker, and mug. I love that we can all be that librarian who advocates for our students' access to books. And yes, that was a favorite shirt to wear at the conference this week. You will find a link to this online store in our show notes, and please know 15% of B proceeds goes to the Texas Library Association, as that is the home state of the designer. I welcome you and all listeners to reach out with your feedback and episode suggestions. You can reach me either on Facebook, on X, formerly known as Twitter. My handle is at LMS_United. On Threads, you can find me at School Librarians United, and on Blue Sky at SLU Podcast, or the email address schoollibrariansunited@gmail.com. If you include your mailing address, I'll be sure to send you a podcast sticker. And now a word from our sponsor, Capstone. Capstone is an innovative publisher and education technology provider of children's content for school libraries, classrooms, and at-home learning. Home of the award-winning PebbleGo research database, Capstone has a passion for creating inspired learning and intellectual curiosity in children, and I'm so excited to be working with them. I'm also grateful to Capstone for the continued commitment to support the podcast in Season 6. They are offering listeners of School Librarians United a very special discount. Visit shop.capstonepub.com and use the code UNITED to get $20 off an order of $100 or more for both print and Capstone interactive ebooks on shop.capstonepub.com. And now for today's episode, ALA's Annual Conference.
I'm Sam Hall. I'm a high school library and the district supervisor at the Ephrata Area School District in Lancaster, Pennsylvania.
I'm Kathy Furman. I'm a high school librarian in the State College Area School District in Center County, Pennsylvania.
And I'm Sarah DiMaria. I'm a high school librarian at Hempfield School District in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, also the K-12 library coordinator.
So friends, today we are at a very special event, and you all three were called because you were being awarded a very special recognition for the amazing work you've done this year. And so I wanted to start this episode by talking to the three of you, and you were celebrated. I know some of you brought your families. This was a very big deal. You were on stage. You have a lovely plaque. And so let's go ahead and start off. But would you give us an idea of the event that we're at tonight and why you were invited to be here?
We're at the Right to Read rally at ALA, and we were thrilled to be honored tonight for our recognition for intellectual freedom for Pennsylvania School Librarians Association.
So I'm really curious because this was a huge undertaking. I got a little sense of what it was you did together as a group. Could you start to tell us what were some of the things you did that really caught the eye of the committee that decided to award this to your organization?
Well, we developed an intellectual freedom task group back in 2022, and with that, we developed a rapid response team. Because in Pennsylvania, as it is in many places in the country, school librarians, school libraries, books were being put to the test, were being challenged, were being censored, were being banned. Our school librarians were being attacked on social media and out public school board meetings. And we knew that we needed to be there as the Pennsylvania School Librarians Association to support them, to guide them, to advise them, to be a conduit for them, to the Office of Intellectual Freedom, who's done amazing work to help us support school librarians. So this rapid response team, we have a set of protocols, we have a challenger alert form, just like OIF does. And what happens is we're immediately in contact with them, confidentially, of course. We're boots on the ground in Pennsylvania, so we try and match up somebody on the rapid response team that might be local, regionally, might have community connections. Some of their biggest work, though, was Pennsylvania School Librarians Association under Sarah's leadership as president-elect and our advocacy co-chair, is we became a partner to a coalition called the Pennsylvania for Welcoming and Inclusive Schools. This includes the Pennsylvania Ed Law Center, Pennsylvania ACLU, Ed Voters, HRC, and our wonderful, wonderful group of Red, Wine, and Blue, plus a lot of other local community groups that support intellectual freedom, inclusive schools, and really protecting the rights of students in all areas, not just school libraries. But they have been this wonderful coalition partner that when we have issues and intellectual freedom issues in an individual school district, of which we have 500, we can call on them. We get some advice, legislative advice. We have really strategized with them, both legislatively, locally, and statewide. It's just been an amazing partnership with them. And it really goes to the fact that it's going to take all of us as a community to fight this battle and to win and make sure intellectual freedom is still a right for all of our students.
Well, and something that I'm hearing is, in so much that the organizations that are coming after school librarians have a playbook, you've created something of a retaliatory sort of strategy. And I think what I find so reassuring in what you're sharing, this isn't solely a problem to be solved by school librarians. We aren't expected to be the only ones doing this ourselves. There are amazing community organizations, boots on the ground, people who are already doing many of these valiant efforts to defend people's intellectual freedoms. You're teaming up with them and making those overtures to make sure that you're not doing this alone. So could you tell me, this isn't always fun work that you've had to do. Tell us some of the day-to-day drudgery of making sure that you are following up on what is happening. Because when you started to talk a little bit about on stage, what were some of the things that you had to do to follow up to make sure that your librarians were being protected? Because a lot of this was happening at the school board level.
Kathy mentioned a lot of it does happen at the local level, and that is sometimes provided and reported by the librarian or other community members, but often the rapid response team in the intellectual freedom task group was paying attention to media, was paying attention to the posted school board minutes, was paying attention to the school board videos. And that requires a lot of time and effort to watch those videos, to scroll through, to pay attention to how the community is reacting to what's going on in those districts. Is there even a librarian in that school district? So a lot of really tedious and time-consuming work went into those efforts.
And yet it seemed to be, you found success in the efforts that you were making. I mean, it sounds like there was a great deal of work, but you also had some victories you were able to celebrate.
Yeah, we've had some victories. We've had times that because the community came out, in fact, we helped policy not be quite as bad as it would have been when it was being revised. That was certainly happened in Sarah's school district. We've had some times that the Pennsylvania State Education Association and our local unions have really come and supported those school librarians to make sure that they were protected as well. I think the biggest win would be that we were able to really activate those allies, the parents and the community members who didn't realize, and who, when we could talk to them and advise them, this is best practices, these are professional certified school librarians, and this is what we do, they were able to go to the meetings and speak to the rest of the community and really maybe not always sway the school board. Maybe it didn't always go our way, but the fact is that everybody in that community understands that intellectual freedom was being threatened and exactly what was going on in those school districts.
So am I correct? You're president-elect, yes? So moving into your term, what kinds of goals do you have moving forward? You've reached this wonderful accolade. You've been recognized as doing spectacular work for everybody in the state of Pennsylvania. You're coming into your term as president. What are some things you want to do to make sure to build on this success?
Part of what we did this year with the Intellectual Freedom Task Group and the work that we did in the Advocacy Committee is to educate others. And so we're going to carry that forward. Specifically this year, we're working on media and information literacy and making sure that we educate others, that school librarians are the experts in this field and there is a place for it in our schools. And if I could just add on to Kathy's remarks about our work that we did this year, we got the regional bandwidth that we needed, and the collective voices together have power.
I am so grateful. I hope you are able to enjoy the rest of your conference. You've worked so incredibly hard. You should be celebrated. I know your family's here. They're very excited for you. Thank you so much for coming together and sharing with us today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
My name is Amanda Kordelsky. I am currently the Director of Libraries and Instructional Technology for Norman Public Schools in Oklahoma. So I serve pre-K through 12 kiddos. And for 2 more days, I'm a Director at Large on the ASL Board of Directors. And then on Monday, I become the President-elect.
Well, congratulations. That's very exciting. Now, let us know. I mean, I'm sure you've got a million things that you would like to do moving into this next role in your leadership position. But what would you like to share with listeners today?
One of the things that my librarians have really struggled with is to get back into the classroom. Since the pandemic, a lot of teachers have become less collaborative. And so trying to come up with some ways to make sure that the library is inviting and that we have a lot of at least lesson starters to pitch to teachers so that they understand that we're co-teaching with them and that it's awesome to collaborate in the library. And so really starting off your school year with how can I reach out to teachers and show them how I'm not asking you to do extra work like collaborating with me. It actually lessens the load when you're tackling it together. And I'm looking forward to that, really encouraging that collaborative piece between teachers and librarians.
Tell me, you're moving into this new leadership position. How do you see that changing what you do every day? It's a lot of work, and you manage to make it balance with everything else that you do as a school librarian.
The thing I'm most excited about, but also most intimidated about, getting to go to all of the different states to do state visits, because with the committees that I've served on in ASL, that's the most rewarding thing is getting to meet librarians and understand how their libraries work or how their districts work, and being able to still connect with my own librarians and make sure I'm meeting all of their needs while doing all of the traveling is also really intimidating. So both really excited about it, but also really nervous.
Well, I'm so excited for you. You know, you're going to have a great year. Thank you so much for stopping by today.
Thank you, Amy.
So good morning. My name is Barbara Johnson. I am now the Instructional Technology Coordinator for Colchester Public Schools. But as of last October, I was a 10-year librarian at Jack Jachter Intermediate School for grades 3 through 5.
Wow. And I mean, forgive me, but you did that for how long?
So I was at Jack Jachter for about 10 years, and now it broke my heart, but I did come out of the library and now oversee all the district libraries as well as the instructional technology for all the classrooms.
Well, and who better to take that job than somebody who's had as much in the trenches experience as yourself? So let me ask, what is it you'd like to share with listeners today?
So I think the benefit of my experience coming out of the library is accessibility to the books themselves. I know that we build in these accessibility tools in IEPs and in 504 meetings behind closed doors that librarians and technology specialists are not invited to. These are classroom teachers, sometimes consultants, making recommendations on how students are accessing not only their learning materials, but their pleasure reading materials as well. And I really love my new position because I can come in and remind people that accessibility to not only instructional materials, but your library books and kids' pleasure reading books and different methods of delivering content, audio books, braille books, books in different languages or books that can translate into different languages, as well as large print. All of these books deserve to be in libraries and learning spaces, and students of all ages and abilities and diverse learners need access to the books both in their classrooms as well as pleasure reading.
Well, and this is exactly why school librarians and people who have been active as school librarians really deserve a seat at the table, because we truly do bring that type of expertise to consideration. And in many cases, other people can't do that.
Yeah, so I love that I can now support an entire team. I feel like I have the expertise to affect the larger district. We have now almost 1,400 students in my district. I know we're a small district, but being involved also at my state level, I can allow to present at different conferences and share that with different districts, you know, even at AASL, present at different topics, more technology-based, giving access to more students and more teachers.
Barbara, I'm curious because as school librarians, you and I decided to come to our parent organization. This is an enormous space filled with a lot of librarians, and not many of them are school librarians. To listeners who are tuning in right now, what would you say to somebody who's a little on the fence about coming to an ALA conference? Because it can be a little daunting for somebody who's accustomed to the state level organization. Why come to ALA?
So I think it just broadens your view. I think it provides a better talking point when you go to make that ecosystem or collaboration with your public library, either at the state level or in your town. And I do think that you have an opportunity to present here. I think there are plenty of public librarians looking to partner with school librarians or kind of crack that door open and see what's the mystery going on. What is the commonality we have? You know, it's about getting books in the hands of kids. It's about like that on-demand curiosity and fulfilling needs both in fiction and nonfiction, supporting research, supporting summer reading, and a collaboration between the two entities. And I think that coming to a national conference or coming to ALA really allows you to take a little sneak peek into what's happening in the public library and open those conversations. Even if it's not learning from someone in your state, you can find someone, just that commonality, start the conversation, and then with the magic of technology, stay in touch and keep updating and keep that collaboration going between a new teaching partner.
Barbara, I'm so grateful. Thank you so much. I hope you have a fantastic conference.
Thank you, Amy. We'll see you soon.
Hi, I'm Maureen Squire, and I am currently the School Library System Director at Questar 3 BOCES in Castleton, New York. It's near the Albany, New York region, and I work with librarians from 22 districts and 68 schools. I know in New York, the word BOCES, it's sort of like is it more like a region or is it a county? So BOCES stands for Board of Cooperative Educational Services. And so in my particular BOCES, we have 3 counties that we have in our area. And so it depends on the BOCES. We're all set up a little bit differently. But so I have 3 counties in my area.
Fantastic. I want to know what it is you'd like to share with listeners today. You've got school librarians tuning in. You oversee, how many school librarians?
Well, I don't oversee them as in supervise, but we are a system, so we provide resources and support to our school librarians. So it's about 50 to 60 librarians at any given time. We provide professional development. We provide regional resources. We do a regional SORA collection that's available to every student. We have about 33,000 students in our region. We work to support the librarians who are actually in the field doing the work.
Outstanding. So tell me, what is it you want to share with listeners today?
So I told you a little bit about my day job, but after school hours, I am currently the president of the New York Library Association section of school librarians. And I wanted to share that journey wasn't really a straight path to leadership. Back in 2021, which was a really weird year, the immediate past president of the New York Library Association, Jen Cannell, had asked me to run for NYLA president. I said, you know what? If Jen thinks I can do it, I'll do it. I didn't ask any more questions. It was only later that I found out I was going to be running against Arlene Laverde from New York City, who's amazing and inspirational and just retired after 33 years. She's just amazing. And so, needless to say, I'm a loser. I didn't win that election. So I thought, that's fine. I ended up actually accepting the current job I'm in, and I thought, well, this is my path to leadership. That's where I'm supposed to be, and that was fine. And then a couple months later, the past president of the section of school librarians of the New York Library Association asked me if I would be interested in being president for that group. And so I said yes, because that's just what we do. When someone thinks that you might be able to do it and has faith in you, I said yes. And so that's kind of led me to where I am now. I'm currently the president until November, represent the amazing librarians in New York State. And I'm super excited and happy to be doing that and very honored to do that. But it wasn't a straightforward path. And so I want to let people know that sometimes taking the risk is worth it. And it might not be successful your first time, but it's definitely, just say yes.
Well, I'm going to sound like your work mom. I'm like, no effort is ever wasted. Honestly, it is hard in the moment, but you have to sort of pick yourself up and put your best face forward and realize that every time we make ourselves vulnerable to these opportunities is a step in the right direction.
Yeah, and, even though I didn't win, at least I gave people a choice, right? Because if we're talking about democracy within our organizations, people like having choices. And so I offered myself up in that role, and I don't regret it at all. It was it was a learning process where I really reflected on what I valued in our profession and how I wanted to move that forward and share that with other librarians. And so I came out a better person and a better librarian, even though I didn't win. And so, there's no losers in school librarian leadership and school, we all win just by being around each other and associating with each other. So definitely worth it. I encourage you to take the risk. You will come out with having gained so many things that you won't even guess before you do say yes.
In coming to this national organization, what is it in particular that draws you to such a large conference, which in many cases, some people sort of decide, it's too far, it's too big. But what is it that motivated you more than anything to come to this conference this year?
Well, I take my role in representing New York's school librarians seriously. So I thought, okay, I'm one of the delegates for AASL from our state chapter. And so I wanted to represent that there. I actually really don't like flying. I'm not a huge crowd person, so I'm definitely out of my comfort zone. But I find I get great energy from being around other librarians, and there's just something about finding your people, talking to them, learning from them, sharing with them that is invaluable. So this experience, even though my feet are tired at the end of the day.
Lauren, thank you so much. Have a fantastic rest of the conference.
Thank you. You too, Amy.
Hello, my name is Jason Balistreri. I work locally at Mount Miguel High School, where I am the school librarian. I am a solo librarian, and I'm in my third year, so I am still very much figuring this out. But when I left in my dream job of a history teacher to my new dream job of being a teacher librarian, I like to emphasize that part, trying to make it like converting a traditional library into, like the learning commons sort of thing, where everybody feels welcome. And I kind of have a utilitarian approach where I just don't try to appeal to bookworms, but to the masses, the majority of my students, and get them through my doors. And then maybe later I'll hit them with some books and literaries and stuff like that. So that's my vision that I sold my admin. And so far it's going pretty darn well. And I'm enjoying myself here at my first conference.
Yeah, and it's awfully intimidating, and yet you probably had a quick drive over here. Some of us took hours and hours and had to book a flight to be here, so you could not have asked for an easier commute to your conference. What is it you are hoping to get at this conference? Because this can be a little overwhelming.
No, absolutely. When I went to my MLIS program for librarianship, one thing that really stood out to me is just get inspired anywhere and everywhere sort of thing. And, I walk through an IKEA and I get inspired and I go, oh, I could do this for my library. I can do that for my library. So be able to walk through the very intimidating, huge exhibit hall and just kind of see, not just all the small publishers and all the many books that are there, but, the different furniture, the different makerspace ideas, and just start to see, what works in your space and let your imagination, like Trevor Noah was saying, let that adult imagination take over to see, how can you apply for your space and continue to grow your library as a living organism.
You and I have something in common. We were both former high school history teachers.
There you go.
For me, it was decades ago, and for you, not so long ago. So let me ask you, as a high school librarian, formerly in the social studies arena, can I ask, what are some things that you have found especially resonate with your colleagues in the social studies team because you've been there, done that, got the T-shirt?
I think that's a great question. At my previous school, we collaborated a lot. Teaming was a thing. And I worked with mighty golden gods of teachers, truly amazing people. It was the hardest decision of my life to leave them. But we worked really close with our English department. So we were humanities. And we teamed. We did everything together. And my new site, not necessarily unfortunately, but we have a lot of lone wolves and silos and doing their own thing. It's taken me time to craft that social science nut a little bit. But as a history teacher, not know that stereotypical English teacher sort of librarian, one thing I've had a lot of success just being that kind of non-traditional role is that, I am a teacher librarian. Why I took this job and led the job I love the teaching is that now every single student is my student, not just the ones in my classroom, but every teacher is my co-teacher. And so one thing that I've had a lot of success was, the first year I focused on the English department and getting to know them. But my second year, it was the science teachers. My third year, it was the social science teachers, and I go to their PLC meetings. I try to collaborate with them. I make it a point upon myself to leave my cage of the library and go to their space and their prep periods and just try to get to know what projects they're working on and find ways that we can collaborate, help one another.
Jason, your school is so lucky. Your teachers are especially fortunate to have you on their staff. I hope you have a fantastic rest of the conference.
Well, thank you so much for your time. It's wonderful to finally meet you. Thank you for all that you do to help collaborate and grow this wonderful network of school librarians.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
My name's Meg Olbert. I'm the librarian at Northeast Elementary School in Ithaca, New York. And I serve K through 5.
Fantastic. And we've met before, and it wasn't in the United States.
No, we met in Rome, Italy, for the International Association of School Librarians.
Well, and I got to be honest, there weren't as many Americans there as I had imagined. And so it was sort of interesting to have traveled all the way across the ocean to meet somebody who is not that far away here from Michigan to New York.
a lot of us are here just to learn, but you're here to present.
Yeah, I have a poster session for how STEM can be a meaningful complement to library curriculum.
What are some absolutely like home runs when it comes to incorporating STEM with your elementary school program?
One of the biggest ones I can think of is a grant I did this year. We did a grant with Jasmine Warga's Rover Story, and we brought her in for a virtual author visit. I just got her signed book, and I wrote a lesson plan, and we got robots for a STEM activity to go with it. We brought in local NASA scientists to come in and visit all of our elementary schools, and it was probably one of the more powerful projects we did in our district. I'm very proud of that grant.
Well, and it really does raise the profile of how absolutely essential it is to have a certified school librarian in a school space. Look at the kinds of things you can offer, not just to an immediate classroom, but to like an entire grade level and to your school community writ large.
Yeah, and it was a district-wide grant. We were really lucky. We have a local grant organization called IPEI that really helped us out when we want to do a district-wide grant. They're an amazing support system.
You know, obviously you're here to share at the poster session. Congratulations. And by the way, that is a rigorous application. It involves a lot of work and time. But I'm sure there are things that selfishly you'd like to get out of being here that will help you advance your own knowledge and things that you look forward to doing in your own space in the coming school year. Can you share with us what are some of these things that you're keeping an eye out for?
I did do a training session on creating STEM kits for libraries that I really liked and valued. Mostly, I've never been to an ALA conference before, so meeting all of the authors and making some connections for book signings was something that I really appreciated, and just connecting with other librarians.
Fantastic. Listen, Megan, I'm so grateful that you decided to connect with me today. This is a massive complex, and there are 15,000 of us here today. So I appreciate you making your way over and sharing with the podcast today.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
I'm Kylie Miller, and I am from Suffolk, Virginia. I'll be teaching at Lakeland High School next year as my first year. I'm graduating from ODU. I'm a current MOIS student. And this year, I'm really hoping to continue to observe and keep learning and applying all the things that I learned from the podcast and from all the other great things like ALA.
Okay, so seriously, friends, I was 53 the first time I went to ALA. I am now turning 54. This is my second ALA, and my friend Kylie here has yet to start her first library and has already come to a national conference. I am feeling woefully inept. So Kylie, looking at the program that you're going to be moving into, what are some of the things you're doing to prepare yourself to hit the ground running when you enter the school? Obviously, this first year, that learning curve is going to be incredibly steep. But what are some of the pie in the sky things that you are really excited about doing because you're walking into your very first library?
Yeah, my top 3 would be gamification is up there really high. I want to do a public library collaboration where we're bringing books over in bags that are reusable. And, the third one just escaped me.
Well, it sounds like you've already got some ambitious goals. And, the fact is you, as a graduate student, have actually listened to a couple of my episodes. Thank you very much. It is proof positive that when we share on the podcast, other people benefit. So is there something in particular that you are excited to learn about here at ALA?
Absolutely. So I really thought I would be at an elementary school. And so getting hired for the high school, I am trying to immerse myself all things manga because I know graphic novels and that's a big circulator and not something I'm super familiar with.
And I got to tell you right now, I know the people presenting on manga, and we have fantastic episodes. They're doing stuff in person. They've got a book coming out. But you are in the right spot to educate yourself, and good on you for taking time out of your valuable summer vacation before you start your new job. I hope you have a fantastic conference.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
My name is Jennifer Williams, and I am from Southwest Virginia, and I am a middle school librarian at Auburn Middle School, and I serve grades 6 to 8.
Fantastic. And let me ask, where are you in your career as a school librarian?
I just completed my first year as a school librarian, and I love it.
Okay, again, I waited till I'd been a school librarian for 16 years before I came to ALA. You've come all the way across the country. You've survived your first year as a school librarian. Can I ask you, because it is still very fresh in your memory, what was something that really surprised you about being a school librarian?
Well, I would say that I felt very isolated to a certain extent, being the only librarian in my school, and I just had to make those connections with the other librarians in my district really quickly so that I could turn to them for advice and help and support.
So let me ask you, there are a lot of people tuning in who are going to be starting their first year in a library. What kind of advice would you give yourself if you could think back to when you were that last summer and a little nerve-wracking? You're going to be walking into that library for the very first time. It's your space. What would have helped you tackle this year with a little more confidence?
I would say I was fresh out of library school, and I was so excited about everything I wanted to do, and I should have maybe kind of targeted the things that I really wanted to focus on instead of trying to do a lot at first, because it overwhelmed me quickly. And so also I would say making connections with the teachers in your school, really find the ones that will work with you and just use their expertise, because also entering a new school is difficult no matter what you teach. So.
Well, and I think I've learned over the years that there are amazing things people do every day, but they don't do all of them at the same time.
Right, and exactly what I'm saying.
What is something that you're hoping to do while you're here?
Well, I'm definitely fangirling over all the authors here. I'm getting ready to go see Palmy Alexander, which I'm so excited. But I've also come with the intent to learn more about manga and anime, because I have a lot of students who are into that, and that's not my strength. I'm absorbing all of the information and expertise around me.
Exactly. Well, you've come to the right spot. I hope you have a fantastic rest of the conference. Thank you so much, and good luck when you start your year 2.
Well, thank you so much for having me, and also all the work you do. I learned so much from your podcast this year.
Have a great one.
Thank you.
So I'm Jane, or Jane spelled Jain, and I just left the best school in the world, McCallum High School. I'm always a knight. And that's in Austin ISD, so it's a public school, and we were the fine arts focused public high school. So anyone in the district, there are creative types, is how I like to describe it. When I'm buying books, I say I need books for young artists. Temperamental, sensitive, beautiful spirits.
Can I ask, does that make you a magnet?
No, we don't call ourselves. There are magnet schools in our district, but we are not a magnet school. We just have a part of us that is Fine Arts Academy, and we're all mixed together.
Fantastic. Now, your poster session today is titled Anarchy in the School Library, Using Direct Action to Get Blank Done. We just keep it clean, friends. But yes, so I love the approach that you've taken to the programming that you're offering in your space. Would you, for the people who do not have the benefit of being here today, would you tell us some of the we'll use the word radical things that you did in order to better support your students?
So I would say I started off in this first part giving out free books. So when I did a major read, the first stop for all those books that I removed was the free book card. So if books didn't leave the free book card after a week or so, then I donated them to a friend of mine who I met through another friend who sends books to Ghana. He's doing his own little anarchist thing. So in the picture, it has him loading the boxes of books into a van, which will then get loaded into a shipping container, which will go to Ghana. These cozy couches come from my parents' house or my sister's boyfriend's house or the side of the road. And it was just like, we need more comfortable seating. Let's just do it. These are free. We also have an open on the floor clothes closet. So anybody who wants clothes at any time in the campus for any reason, no questions asked. Adult, staff, faculty, anyone can come and get clothes as much as they want. You can't see it in the picture, but we've got some bags. So I often encourage students to take bags. Maybe you need a bag, take a bag. Then we also have this mural. I'm doing another presentation about just my mural stuff, because in a matter of 3 years, we got 21 goals painted, students doing all of the work.
I say a lot. People are like, oh, well, yeah, you're the fine arts campus. Of course, you have a lot of murals. How easy for you. And I say, I tried to start working with the art department. They were kind of busy. They have their own thing. They don't really need me. What worked the best was pulling library aides and office aides and saying who can paint, who's an artist. That's how I got so many murals in such a short period of time. And then they school supplies and menstrual products that are free. Everything's free on demand, and I frequently encourage people to donate. So,
well, and I love the theme of this, where, and friends, I'm reading off of this poster, and I'm so inspired. It says, where no permission was asked or given. So you really are just going to be asking for forgiveness at some point in this process, should your administration raise any questions.
Yes, and of all of these projects, the only one that I've ever had to ask forgiveness on is the mural that I've pictured here, which is a reference to Porco Rosso, which is a film done by Japanese filmmaker Hayao Miyazaki. Very popular among the teens. In fact, that is one of 4 Miyazaki murals. But it says in the famous quote from the movie, "I'd rather be a pig than a fascist." And at a college career meeting with a bunch of parents, the poor college career counselor was grilled about why the librarian is promoting a political agenda. And thankfully, my principal stood behind me, but I did have to talk with her about it. And from now on, we got murals approved in advance.
As somebody who gets to stand here and admire what you have put together, I would love if you could give our listeners the introduction which you provide here, because it really does speak to the theme.
Okay, so it says, in anarchist-style activism, direct action is a method by which participants operate outside of institutional procedures to achieve desired social or political goals. And I want to say as an aside, I like to think of the Black Panthers lunch program. How can anarchist strategies support school libraries? Anarchists believe in doing work that materially improves the lives of people in the community today, right now, through mutual aid.
Well, and forgive me, but mutual aid means that you aren't solely producing everything that needs. I think that's what librarians, especially those of us who are woefully underfunded, find most daunting. But you didn't let that stop your willingness to support your students.
And well, I think that's a really important point. And something that when I start having these conversations comes up a lot is grant writing, or, these sort of other ways of generating funds to buy new things. And what I'm a strong writer, but grant writing is not something that I'm familiar with. And I know that there's a bit of a learning curve. And so what I found was easier was just reaching out to my community through existing channels and letting them know that I am accepting donations. I always say, I'm always taking donations on books, clothes, school supplies. All those 3 things you can always give me. I'm always receiving.
Well, and if any of us know, sometimes going through the procedures that are outlined in our school protocols, it can oftentimes stymie or delay action that needs to be taken to support our students' immediate needs. I love this, going outside the bureaucratic channels to get things done. Jane, please tell us, because you have big plans coming up for this next school year.
For my own PhD, yeah. I'm not sure what direction I'm personally going to take, but my dream overall would be to run a school library program at a university and to kind of spread this sort of message of how to do things, and focusing on serving your population and garnering the support of your community, like bringing everybody together to serve the community. Like you say, it doesn't have to fall just on you.
Well, and I do think that administrators are not dumb. And when they see the community rally behind the school librarian, all of a sudden their only choice is to also rally behind the school librarian.
That is absolutely the case. And I have a very supportive admin team. And in some ways, I think asking permission puts them on the spot. And it creates, especially if you're doing it in writing, it can create a paper trail that could make your boss potentially be the one to get in trouble. And so it's much easier for everyone to claim ignorance and ask for forgiveness than it would be to put that responsibility on your boss. So I think it's kind to your boss, actually.
Jane, I am so grateful that you are still here and answering questions at this poster session. Thank you so much. I hope you have a fantastic adventure in your next chapter of life.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Amy. My name's Casey Meehan. I'm the program director for Freedom to Read at Penn America. And I'm here at ALA, with the Unite Against Book Ban team and doing other forms of defense of the freedom to read.
So friends, for those of you who are not here, you are set up in the lobby. You are not in the expo. You are across from registration and you are sort of in the center of everything. And you have a great deal of information out here for anybody coming up and asking you questions about what we can do to fend off attacks on our collections. Could you, in speaking to an audience of school librarians, what have you felt has been something that Penn America can do to support the school librarians who are especially under the constant assault from the haters?
Yeah, there's a few things that Penn America can do. I mean, first and foremost, all of our research is about school libraries. So we track annually the instances of book bans happening in public school classrooms and libraries across the country. So, part of that research is really to build awareness on the state of what's happening, really help school librarians understand they're not alone and that their district is not unique in what they're facing, that this is a coordinated, well-resourced movement across the country that many school librarians and districts are facing. So in addition to that awareness building, what we can be is a voice, particularly if librarians don't have, for many reasons. So if a school librarian may not be able to speak out, Penn can be that voice. We can write letters to your board. We can send authors to a school board meeting. We can put together open letters signed by authors and publishers, other advocacy organizations like Penn. We sit in an ecosystem with really engaged partners that want to be, there for school librarians across the country as they serve, the kind of those frontline defenders of books.
Well, and what I'm hearing from a lot of people who have come under fire is that you have to build your coalition. You have to build your coalition, branch out, reach into your community, and get a lot of those partners who will support you. But it sounds like you are part of our national coalition.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, Penn does a lot of work at the national level. So in addition to our report, a lot of communications advocacy, getting press releases out there, putting out opposition statements, raising awareness of specific instances of book bans. So we can be a really great ally in just helping make sure that your community is very aware of what's happening in their backyard, that there are censors coming for books in their schools and these books still belong in school libraries. So I think that's a role for us. And we also work really closely with state networks. So we have lots of coalition partners of state organizations, and then they can work, more directly with the local communities who need their support.
It's very easy to get sort of bogged down in the negativity of all of this, but can you share some of the successes that you feel that we can celebrate and really feel proud of?
Yeah, I mean, every time we see a book ban, we see individuals mobilizing to keep the books on the shelves. And I think collectively, we're getting louder, stronger, more organized. We see the way in which mobilization efforts are keeping books on shelves, are pushing back against board decisions and state laws through lawsuits. So I would say the coalition, the Avengers are coming, right? We're growing and growing every day. And I think we all just understand why books are so important and why we need to keep these books available for students in our classrooms and libraries.
Casey, for listeners who are tuning in, would you please let them know where they can find you and your wonderful resources?
Sure. Always check us out on social media. So we're on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, but then you could also visit us at our website, www.penn/action, ACTION.
Have a great conference.
Thank you so much, Amy.
I'm Heather Turner, and I've been a school librarian for 16 years now. I've been K through 12. Now I'm actually doing professional development for school librarians. So that's what I'm really passionate about. I'm really excited about AI, and I think that that's really, we need to leverage that for students, because the students that know how to do it are the ones who are going to get jobs. I don't think AI is going to take our jobs, but I think that AI is going to be that linchpin for students to be successful.
So I'm really excited. I'm going to be attending your session this afternoon, but my listeners, many of them will not be able to attend your session. In fact, most of them will not. So can you give us an idea, what are some of the things that you can tell the school librarians about how we help our teachers and our students navigate this new space with AI?
So I really think that prompt engineering is key, as well as knowing the data that is behind the AI. So in particular, ChatGPT is utilizing social media and YouTube comments, which is problematic, and it hallucinates all the time. I actually use something called the facts method that was created by John Spencer.
And he uses that to help students in the process of analyzing AI responses. And so I really like that as a tool and giving students tools and acronyms. They always love acronyms.
I have to ask you, what are some, do you have some preferred AI platforms that you feel are most beneficial to our students and our staff?
Yeah, I would say that Claude is one of my favorites because I like that they're really using rules in order for the information. Do I use ChatGPT? I do. I absolutely do. I pay for it because I'm a fool, but I do because I feel like it's important to me as a librarian to utilize each of the AIs to understand how each one can be leveraged in the space. Because a lot are using ChatGPT as like their basis for their information. But Claude, I'm really interested in. I really love Adobe Firefly because when I did a search on I wanted something for Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. I wanted like an image. DALL-E would give it to me. Firefly would not, citing that it was copyrighted content. So I really, really like that about Firefly, and I feel like it's a great teaching tool for students to see that.
Fantastic. Listen, I can't wait to sit and take in all you have to teach us about using AI and supporting our schools. I will be seeing you later this afternoon. I hope you have a fantastic conference.
Thank you so much.
Hi, my name is Teresa Bruce. I teach in Baltimore City Public Schools at KIPP Baltimore. And my school is a pre-K to 8. We have 1,400 amazing students, and I am their founding librarian. So I've spent the last 2 years helping design our program from the ground up. And so my goal in this upcoming school year is to live out our mission, to help our young people discover or rediscover the joy of reading. And as a second-year librarian, going into my third, I think I have some pretty good insight on the advice I would give to my first-year self or to any first-year librarian. And my advice is just do it. Take the risk. Do the thing that you're most afraid of. Dive in. Be coachable, be teachable, and have fun.
I won't get a chance to look at your lovely space or watch you in action, but can you give listeners an idea of what are the kinds of things that you're really proud about? Because you have obviously put a lot of your heart into this program, and now it's just getting better and better and better. I have to imagine going from no library to what you've been able to provide for these students. You have to be an absolute hero to your school.
I don't know about a hero, but I'm definitely an amazing librarian. What I'm most proud of is the joy that students have when they see these spaces, that they recognize that somebody is invested in them, that they have a space they can come to while structured, also allows for collaboration, innovation, creativity, and I'm going to keep saying it, joy.
I absolutely love that. You are here. It is your third year in this profession. I'm going to tell you right now, I have been a librarian for 15 years, and I was in my 50s before I had the good sense to come to this conference. What is it about being here that you're hoping to get? Because we all have those sort of check boxes, and we're here in person. What are some things? Because I know a lot of listeners are like, oh, it's ALA, it's huge, it's expensive, but what are you hoping to get?
Connection. So as a school librarian, I imagine for many of us across the country, it can be pretty isolating. Most of the time, we are one of one. You may have an assistant, but many do not. And so when you're in your school community, at least for me, while I have an amazing support system, my boss is awesome sauce, supports all sorts of professional memberships and associations. In fact, this is my school community that pays for these opportunities in full because we believe in professional development. But what I most hope to get is that connection, to be among my people, to be among those who understand what it's like and can push me further. And to stay connected, right? Because we're a larger community. At the end of the day, that's what's best to support our children.
But I'm going to tell you what, Teresa, as somebody who in many cases has never met my PLN, and we've now met, you are absolutely correct that just even meeting once in a conference, that's all it takes. Like our virtual PLN lifts and supports us every day. Teresa, I hope you have a fantastic conference. Thank you so much for talking to me today.
Of course, thank you.
my name is Suzanne Saldivar, and I work at Lang Elementary in a rural part of California. I am an elementary school library technician. The best library hack that I would like to use this coming year is anthropomorphizing school supplies and library cart. So kids don't really care if the glue stick lost cap or the cart is missing, but if Carl lost his cap, they're going to look harder for it. And if Dolly Parton is missing, then they're more likely to get excited about finding that and returning it to its home.
You say that you are a technician, but you have plans. And I'm excited to hear about that, because what was it that helped you make that decision? Because it's not a small decision.
I have my social studies credential, and like many around the time of 2020, I started looking for other opportunities, other things, and my district had an opening for a library technician position, and I read the job descriptions like, oh my gosh, that sounds so much fun. So now that I've done it for a year, best career decision I could have made, and so I'm going to be starting my MLS and my teacher library credential.
Well, that's exciting. And now you will obviously be working full-time and going to school as well. How exciting to see that you can implement the things that you're learning in class in your actual physical space.
Yeah, exactly. My plan is to take one class per semester because I do have a family. I do work both school days, and I found that one class at a time, and I can still be committed to other things like volunteer opportunities and my own family.
Well, I'm going to tell you what, I got my master's in library science one class at a time, and had, 3 children under the age of 4. And so, yes, one class at a time. Thank God Wayne State University gave me 6 years to finish my master's degree, and I took 5. And you know what? It can be done. The wonderful thing, though, is you don't have to give up your library space to do it. Let me ask you, you're here at this conference. It took me 15 years to get to ALA. What are some things that you are hoping to get because you are here at this national conference?
I'm going to a lot of programming for elementary school students. Like I just went to a great one about nonfiction books, just all sorts of things. We're working with elementary school students and that population. Also, I underestimated how many free books there were here. So,
well, and forgive me, you told me you took a train here. I imagine that if you brought those books back, you could easily get the books back. You don't. My point is, you don't have to mail them.
Yeah, but I brought a small bag because, again, I underestimated how much free stuff would be here. So I'm on my way to the post office booth right now.
It sounds like you've already had great success. Suzanne, thank you so much for joining me, and I hope you have a fantastic conference.
And thank you so much. I'm totally fangirling out to have met you, so thank you.
I'm Kate Appleby. I'm a high school librarian at Grand Terrace High School. It's about 2 hours northeast of here. We're in the middle of a desert, and it's nice hot. We have about 1,600 students that we serve. We have the largest Black student population in the district, and we've only been open about 13 years. So we're a fairly brand new school. I am only the second teacher librarian there.
Wow. So listen, you and I crossed paths in Chicago exactly a year ago at ALAA Annual Conference 2023. And here we are again. This is fantastic. So let me ask, what is it you'd like to share with listeners today?
So I'd like to share an insight that I just had like a month ago. My husband loves this series called Legends and Lattes, and he teaches English at our school. And he's like, order that in the bookshops in Bone Dust. Follett only has one in hardcover, and the other one is in paperback, and I hate ordering paperbacks. But what they do have is they have the hardcover special editions, and it dawned on me that there is nothing stopping me from ordering the special editions of any book that I want.
So wait, explain this to me. Special editions in Follett. What does that mean?
Gilded page edges, like all the stuff that you would get from like a special edition that you might buy at Barnes & Noble or from any bookstore.
And Follett will do that?
Yes.
I think what I love about that is in further distinguishing this book as a library book, it is not going to be confused with our students' personal collections and integrated into their bookshelves, as so many of my books have.
Exactly. Of course. And I think how cool is that? Because like as readers, we will spend a lot of money on special editions for us. But my kids might not have that opportunity to buy a special edition, and this way they get to handle a special edition. And that's so cool.
I can't help but notice you are an ALA emerging leader. And can you tell me a little bit about how that impacted the trajectory of your profession as a school librarian?
I am. So I was an emerging leader last year, and I was with the Black Caucus of ALA's project, and we worked on onboarding for their new members. To answer your question, how it impacted me, I have gone on to become the VP of Anti-Bias and Anti-Racism for our state organization. The woman who held it before me died suddenly, and I stepped in and then ran. But that helped me understand onboarding for our state organization. But this year's emerging leaders that had that same group took our data and created this most fantastic website for it, and it was the most heartwarming moment.
Well, and it really does speak to this idea that when librarians do things, we share and make those things available. We don't put them behind paywalls, and we're going to use this to raise our entire and lift the professionals in around, not just around our immediate space, around the country as well.
Yes, absolutely.
Wow. So, Kate, you're here at this conference. I have to ask, you're from California. It's a big state. I'm not going to make any assumptions, but, getting here was probably less than an ordeal as it was for some.
Yes, most definitely. My drive was 2 hours, and I think it was 65 to 70 the entire way. So...
Well, and look at you, whereas many of us have to think about how we're going to ship our books back or bringing an extra piece of luggage. You're just putting all of this stuff in your trunk as we speak.
I am, and I'm putting it in my trunk daily. So I take photographs for my library Instagram, and then I put it in my trunk.
Well, that's what I did last year, friends, because Detroit and Chicago are only 4.5 hours apart. So that was me last year. So I'm really excited for you, Kate. Thank you so much for finding me. And I appreciate you sharing your story.
You're welcome. Thank you, Amy.
My name is Loriana Donovan. I am a middle school librarian, and I am in New York City.
Fantastic. And, tell us, what would you like to share with listeners today?
I would like to tell you guys about some ed tech tools that I use as a huge STEAM makerspace person. So for me, I really love Magic School AI. It's a really amazing AI platform that librarians and teachers can use to kind of simplify their lives and help with AI coming into our classrooms.
So can you give us some specific ways in which school librarians can go to Magic School AI and use this to streamline our workflow?
Yeah, so something I really love on Magic School AI is the differentiation of materials. So if you have students with IEPs and they come into the library and you're like, I need help, I don't know how to do this, it makes that process really streamlined and easy. It also really helps with lesson plans. You can put in the specific lesson strategies or content that you need and can create an entire lesson plan for you in the library if you use that.
Fantastic. Now, you teach in a middle school.
Yes.
Are you aware of middle school students using generative AI?
Yeah, so most of my students use AI, and they're really bad at it. I wish they would be better at using AI because it's very obvious when they do it. They also think that it's a bad thing. I don't think AI should be considered a bad thing. It's a tool, and they should learn how to use it and learn how to use it effectively.
Have you, as a technology leader in your building, have you had any success getting your teachers to come around to the idea that AI is something we should embrace and not fear?
So in New York City, we're doing a lot with technology and AI training. So this year, there was a huge statewide conference on AI in New York and New York City. We all joined. It was really cool. And we've been hearing a lot about different promotions of different AI platforms. So for me personally, I'm a Magic School AI teacher trainer, and it was really cool to have all of that resource from Magic School AI that I learned about back in January from New York City schools, library service PDs.
I'm super jealous. You did a session this morning. Congratulations, you're a national speaker. And let me ask, would you tell listeners what you presented on?
Yes, so we presented on Book Talk, Bookstagram, and BookTube today.
I'm just going to put you on the spot. Would you talk to your co-presenter and see if you wouldn't be willing to share your presentation with us on the show?
Yeah, I think Lexi and I would love to talk about it. It was really fun. We would love to talk more.
Fantastic. Hey, I hope you have a great conference and a safe trip home.
Thank you so much. You too. Okay, my name is Leanne Cheek. I am from Oklahoma, the center of Oklahoma, and I select teen materials and graphic novels for a tri-county system.
Fantastic. So in the public library, you are committed to supporting the school librarians who are in your immediate neighborhoods. So let me go into a little detail. Who initiates these and how do you best customize this to each school?
I work with the schools mostly doing book discussion kits. So I try to have 20 to 25 copies of each title so that I can offset classrooms who don't have enough books in their school library so that they can have a classroom set on the cheap and then they give it back. We put together the book discussion questions, stuff about the authors, the whole package, and then just send it back and forth amongst the teachers.
But that makes our job so much easier. I mean, all of a sudden it's turnkey because you're providing books that the schools don't have to buy. Do you talk to your librarians about what titles that you should buy? How does this back and forth go, and do you deliver?
I don't deliver. The teachers come to the library to pick up the book. I absolutely take requests from the teachers. I would much rather buy a title that I know at least one person will use rather than ones I think are great but nobody wants to use. So I do a lot of requests, and then I try to offset some of the titles from our state award, the Sequoia Book Award. So I try to do some of the current books on that list and then any of the requests that the teachers are making.
Wow, fantastic. So let me ask you, does your school library, do those also benefit from your e-collections or your digital resources?
Yes, absolutely. A number of schools in our area, and they use Sora, so they kind of dip into our catalog in their schools, and so I go back and forth on titles that they need and extra copies, and sometimes they'll turn on CPC for simultaneous use if they're doing something special. For instance, one of the school media specialists had an author that was coming to visit, and so she asked to have that title turned on so that any kid who could possibly check it out before the author came could have a chance to read it.
I love this because it really does demonstrate a true partnership between our public counterparts and the school librarians. I'd love if all public libraries offered these kinds of benefits to their schools, but really what our school librarians are doing are raising readers who love their libraries, all libraries.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, we love to work with the schools and offset anything that they're doing. We see ourselves as partners, and we definitely want to keep the kids loving reading throughout the summer, during the school year, whatever we can do to help teachers continue that.
Well, I have to imagine on a programming level, this is outreach that you can document in the schools and in the community.
Yes, and I just select materials and work with teachers in the backside, but we have librarians in our public libraries that go to the schools and do different kinds of visits and presentation, things like that. So there's a lot of different ways that our system works with them.
Sounds like Norman, Oklahoma has really got it together.
Yes, indeed. We're trying to.
Have a great conference.
Thank you. You too.
Hi, I am Sheila Michael, and I'm from Southwest Missouri, and I'm really excited because I'm the Missouri School Librarian of the Year. So very thrilled about that. And the kind of work that I do, I am a school librarian, but what brings me the most joy, what keeps me going, is I do a reading program in the summer. I give away books, I give away food, hygiene products, period kits, and school supplies to our families and our community.
Wow. And now I have to ask, is this program, are you completely independent of your district? How are you funding this? Because it sounds like it could really become overwhelming if you're trying to do it all.
Yeah, I'm completely independent. It's all volunteer work, volunteer hours. I just created the program 3 years ago because I knew there was a need in the community during the summer. During the school year, kids can get food at school. They could get school supplies. They could get hygiene products. What do they do for 3 months when they don't have access to the building? So really, I just kind of saw that need and the success of the program. Last year, we had almost 800 participants, and that shows me there's a need, and we're maybe we're a drop in the bucket, but we're trying to help our families.
But I can't help but think that those are incredibly grateful families, and you are doing an incredible job of supporting them when they are removed from the school support systems that are always in place during the school year. We're on the last day of the conference. We're all heading home. What is the thing that you would like to share with listeners today?
I would like to share what a safe and renewing place ALA and other library conferences are. Talking to authors who thank us, the librarians, for doing the work that we do, and we're like, no, I'm here for you. You're my rock star. And just how kind and supportive and connective people are at these conferences. It's really a safe space when maybe your school isn't a safe place. This is a lot of times where we get recharged.
I do like being celebrated. And I feel like when you come to a conference and realize that you are in a space surrounded by other people who are all like-minded, it allows us to breathe easy.
It does. It allows you to breathe. I don't have to worry about a parent coming up to me in Walgreens and complaining about a book. I don't have to worry about, something I said in public being overheard or something I said to their kid that got misinterpreted. I could just be myself, and then other people can too. And you get to know the real us. We get to know each other.
I love that. Thank you so much. Listen, we're at the end of the conference. You've been able to do the things you want to do. I imagine you're going to be able to go home and celebrate and enjoy the rest of your summer. So, Sheila, thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you have a safe trip home.
Thank you. You too.
I'm Allie Lauer. I teach in Los Angeles at a middle school, East LA.
Fantastic. So you clearly didn't fly here?
I did drive, and because of traffic, it was a little longer than it should have been, but very reasonable.
And yet you got to fill your trunk with things, whereas many of us had to be judicious in what we were picking up at the Expo Center.
That's true, but I tried to prioritize relationships this weekend, and so I did get a good haul, I'm not going to lie, but I tried to emphasize networking and connection over picking up stuff.
Well, and I'm going to tell you right now, when people say, hey, I'm going to ALA, I'm like, you know what I'm not doing? I'm very upfront. I am not standing in line for books.
See.
And that's because I'm not coming here for the books. Sorry, everybody. Sorry, we're at the Expo Center. I'm not here for the books. I'm here for the people.
Yeah.
So no offense, I sort of collect conversations and I collect these connections because that means more. So listen, Allie, I'm so grateful you and I were able to connect today. Tell me what it is you'd like to share with listeners.
Well, I've been thinking a lot about my goals for next year. And one of the things, I know as librarians, we're always trying to prioritize getting our students to read more and promoting reading and a reading culture. But I made a discovery this year, and I want to capitalize and grow on that next year, which is my district was holding a reading streak contest. And I just leaned in with all my energy toward that. So I thought, I'm going to do a bookmark challenge, and I'm going to get the teachers involved. I'm going to get my principal involved, and we're really going to do this thing. And in doing that, I realized, this is kind of like a dumb moment for me, but things happen better when you work with the people at your school. And yes, I've been trying to get teachers to help support the reading culture for a while, but this was a really intentional effort. So I'm working on growing my reading culture at my school by networking and creating a team within the school to sort of move that forward. And I don't have all the answers for that yet, but I've been reading a lot of books about reading culture, including Margaret's book, and other people who write about reading culture.
So let me ask you, have you targeted, this sounds aggressive, have you targeted a particular grade level or subject matter that you feel you would best make inroads?
Not really. I'm really just going to throw the net out. But I am going to ask for a commitment from the English department to help with the independent reading. And we're moving to a new schedule where we have the shorter periods, and so that's going to be harder for them to commit to than in the past, where they had lots of time and it was easy to give time for that, but now it's a little bit more of an ask. So
I have to ask, why are your periods getting shorter? Because I know that the school day is not getting shorter. So what is it that something's got to give, right? And I understand, but can you share, or is it not something you can talk about?
I can say that it comes down to funding. When you have a block schedule, you have to have more staff, and we can't afford to do that anymore. So
understand. So I'm your school is lucky to have you. You're amazing. You're here. You're committed to your craft. what is something that what's one of your takeaways when you leave and you're like, wow, I'm really glad that I came to LA?
So kind of circling back to the thing I said about the relationship building, I mean, when I did stand in line, it was to talk to the authors, to say, all right, do you do author visits and make that face-to-face connection? So yeah, I want a few of your books with signatures, but I also want to make a relationship with that person. I met Lamar Giles twice, right? So we're reading one of his books this year in our book club. So I wanted to say to him, we're doing that. Would you be willing to come? And he told me the steps to reach out to him. So that's sort of been my priority. It's like when I'm networking with the vendors or creators or authors to focus on, well, how do we get you to connect to my students? And that's part of the reading culture I'm trying to establish this year. How do we get students thinking this is possible for me also?
I love that. Listen, Allie, I'm so grateful we got to connect. Have a safe drive home.
Have a safe flight.
My name is Samantha Archibald Mora. I work at Wood River Middle School in Haley, Idaho, 6th through 8th grade, and I'm here at the conference on the New Members Roundtable Professional Development Grant. So I got a grant to come to my first ALAAC conference.
That is so amazing, and I'm just going to say this sounds really, really dumb, but I've never met anybody from Idaho. So tell me, what is it you'd like to share with listeners today?
I'm going to share a couple of the ideas I've gotten at the conference to take back to my library. So the first one I just got in the session that you and I both attended, and it's about doing sort of a dialogue series, as they talked about in my library. We have an advisory where all students take an advisory class, and it's kind of timed with our 2 lunches. So I was thinking it would be cool to have each advisory teacher send student representatives to have a discussion or a dialogue series in the library with stuff that's kind of a concern to students, so that they could take it back to their advisory classrooms and kind of be student ambassadors. So that's one idea I got.
Fantastic. I love that. I know I was taking notes the whole time, so I was having so much fun. So let me ask you, this is your first ALA. Can you tell me something else that you are really excited to do when you get back home to your library?
Yes. So another fun idea I've gotten just from wandering around the conference are all the zines, and I got a bunch of cool examples, and so I've already been texting back and forth with one of our 6th grade English teachers about doing zines, and she and I are also hosting the Pride Club, so I thought it'd be really fun for us to make a Pride Club zine.
I love that. Listen, it sounds like both of us have had a great conference. We're in the last hours of today. I hope you have a safe trip home. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you. Have a safe trip too.
My name is Catherine Barnes. I'm a teacher librarian in Adelaide, South Australia, and I also lecture in the Information Management program at University of South Australia, inspiring the next teacher librarian.
You have come a very long way to be at this conference. Can you give us an idea of the decision as to why you did that and some of the hurdles you may have encountered because you are halfway around the world?
So from Australia, I've been carefully watching the American situation with challenged books in school libraries and learning from the challenges that have occurred in school libraries in the US, looking at the tools they've undertaken to fight back at the challenges that have occurred, and just watching really carefully about how that might affect us in Australia and what we may be able to do to curtail these challenges and how we can support our staff so they don't undergo some of the problems that have been experienced in the US.
Now, am I correct if I hear you right? So have there been some challenges to the content on the shelves of the libraries in Australia?
There have been some challenges, not to the level of the US. However, because we were prepared, we felt we put in place some challenge-ready aspects, learned from Becky Calzada, and we put in place some, policies. We looked at collection development policies, and many of these challenges have been overturned quite quickly. What I will say is the pushback on the challenges wasn't just the librarians, it was the people of Australia. The people of Australia really value our librarians. We worked really hard on a positive messaging out about school libraries. And so they've been able to, when a challenge has arisen, fight back themselves rather than just the librarians.
So I have to ask, because these days of conference are long and we're very tired, but apparently at 12:30 in the morning, so in the middle of the night, you were also doing your job back home because you were lecturing remotely to your students.
Yes, so it's a dual world for me. I often have a lot of connections with the US where I want to learn from our US friends. So I often am that person on a different time zone, working and having meetings with the US. I will admit, in my pajamas with a nice jacket over the top. However, this time I went opposite. I was in the US presenting to Australians, so working on the Australian timeline. And what was really amazing is I was teaching librarians, teaching library students, and I was able to talk about the learning I had that day. So I showed the bling, I showed the loot that I got from the exhibition call, but I also was able to talk about the people I had met during the day, the conversations I'd had. It was like live education for my students. We don't have contact with the breadth of experience in the US, so it was really great to be able to get it straight from the course's mouth and to share it directly with my students. Even though it was 12:30 in the morning, it was a really great opportunity.
I can't imagine what a dedicated instructor you are to say, you know what, I'm going to take one for the team. I'm going to get on a plane and fly very long ways so that I can go to California and surround yourself with this incredible assembly of librarians of all walks. I have to imagine that when you go back to work, there are a lot of ideas and connections that you have made here in the States that will have resonating impact on your practice moving forward.
Yes, it's definitely something that I feel like I'm representing much of Australia. I had a little list of little things to look into, people to talk to from my friends in Australia. But also I think it's part of showing another voice at the ALA conference that you're not alone in the US. We have teacher librarians across the world. We have a voice of an Australian to talk about. This is our experiences. This is how we're learning from you. This is what we have done that we can contribute back to the American Library Association and our American school libraries. So I think we need to have those different voices of the different cultures and to talk about our own practice so that we can learn from each other.
Well, it sounds like #BetterTogether, and the reality is, we are all trying to do what we can to make sure that we as professionals do what we can to support our school communities, our larger communities, and our profession around the world.
Yes, I will certainly say that in Australia it is the minority who are challenging our books, who are moving against our school libraries. I believe it's the same in the US, and we need to know that there is support across the world for the challenges of our teacher librarians here and that we can support each other.
Catherine Barnes, I hope you have a wonderful rest of the conference and a very safe trip home.
Thank you. Great talking to you.
I greatly appreciate all the attendees who took time out of their busy day at the conference to share their experiences on the podcast. I am especially grateful to be able to record in what is far from ideal conditions. The sound quality is such that it is glaringly obvious that today's guests were actively recording as 15,000 attendees walked to and from their sessions. And yet, I can think of no better way to capture the energy and the excitement of being at a conference than to record in real time. And I will continue to offer this type of episode because there is nothing more authentic than connecting with school librarians going about their day. If you found this episode helpful, please share it out with your team, your PLN, and on social media. Be sure to follow on your favorite podcatcher so you'll never miss an episode. And if you really like listening today, consider leaving a review wherever you listen to podcasts. Reviews help others find us. Use the code UNITED to take advantage of Capstone's generous $20 discount off an order of $100 or more. See the link in today's show notes. And because I'm in full podcast mode and recording all summer long, we will have new episodes posted every week. The topic of our next episode is Digital Citizenship in Action and my conversation with Dr. Kristen Matson. I hope you will tune in.